Like K3s and Rancher and all the other software that we love, Traefik Proxy is open source. Many of you have come across it in the past, and it was probably when you were starting out and working directly with Docker. In fact, if you look online, you'll find that there's a lot more documentation and videos and courses on how to use Traefik with Docker and Docker Swarm than there are about using it with Kubernetes. One of Traefik Proxy's strengths is that it works almost everywhere. It works with Docker, Kubernetes, HashiCorp Nomad, Consul, Consul Catalog, Amazon ECS, Marathon, Bare Metal, and with configuration stored in files, key value stores, or databases. It even still works with Rancher 1.x, but honestly, if you're running Rancher 1.x, please upgrade. The power of Traefik Proxy comes from its dynamic configuration, which means that it monitors the environment in which it's deployed, and it automatically picks up services and builds the configuration for how to connect them. These building blocks of all the components are there for you to wire together. That flexibility has made it very popular, with over 2 billion downloads, nearly 37,000 stars on GitHub, and hundreds of thousands of nodes in production. And because it's so dynamic, it works the same with every provider. Once you learn how to use Traefik Proxy, you can use it in any environment that you want. Maybe you're still using Docker Swarm, but you want to migrate to Kubernetes. Well, you can use Traefik Proxy in both environments, and Kubernetes will be just a little bit more familiar. One of my favorite things about Traefik Proxy is that it doesn't terminate in-flight connections during a configuration reload. Short of upgrading the pod where the old pod actually terminates, Traefik Proxy will seamlessly update its configuration as the backend environment changes, and clients will never know that anything happened. This seems like an obvious thing, right? I mean, how terrible would it be to cut off communication with someone who's interacting with your service just because the service controller received a new configuration? I used to think this way until I learned that what I just described is exactly what Ingress Nginx does. When the configuration of your cluster changes, Ingress Nginx creates a new flat file configuration and then signals itself to load it, and in doing so, it will terminate all active connections. When I learned this, I dropped Ingress Nginx like a hot lump of coal, and I haven't used it since. Now, did you know that Ingress Nginx also has a truckload of unresolved security issues? There's a hardened version of Ingress Nginx that's used by RKE2, and when scanning that image for vulnerabilities, let's just say that there's a lot of them at the time that I'm recording this. A similar scan of Traefik Proxy turns up 0. Now, if Traefik Proxy is so amazing, and if it's included in K3s, why don't you hear more about it? The honest answer is one that all of you already know, and it's probably why you're in this class. Because Traefik Proxy works in so many places, its architecture is different from other Ingress controllers, and that can make it confusing and hard to get started. I ran into this myself. There were multiple times over the last 3 years that I wanted to start using Traefik Proxy, usually while I was building a new cluster, and when I couldn't just intuitively understand how to set it up, I defaulted back to something else that I already knew. It wasn't until I committed to learning it and worked through the ways that it solves problems that I was able to say, "Ooh, okay, now I get it, and this is actually really cool." So I've taken all of that and I've put it into this class. And by the end of this class, you're going to understand Traefik Proxy and start using it successfully in your environments right now. We'll start with the configuration. And there are 2 types in Traefik Proxy: static configuration and dynamic configuration.